This is Clearview Television. We're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. Welcome to this edition of the Weekend Review, where we bring you up to speed with some of the top stories that dominated the headlines in the week just ended. I am your regular host, Nkiru Owuli. The week opened with the cheering news of the suspension of the strike called by the National Association of Resident Doctors (NARDS), an action that paralyzed the health services in all public hospitals in the country. This followed several hours of negotiation meeting between the union's leaders and the government team 24 hours earlier. President of the association, Dr. Iyilawa Okoye-Suye, who announced the suspension of the 11-day strike, however, asked the federal government to honor its agreement with the union. He warned that if the federal government fails to honor its part of the agreement with the resident doctors in the next 4 weeks, they will be forced to declare another indefinite industrial action nationwide. The National Association of Resident Doctors had in their demands sought for the payment of outstanding salaries owed to all house officers, including March salaries and the payment of all salary arrears for their colleagues in the federal and state tertiary health institutions across the country, especially ASUT, IMSUT, and UNIMED. Members of the union had embarked on strike on April 1, 2021 to press home their demands. Earlier in the week just ended, 11 soldiers who lost their lives during a peacekeeping mission in Konshisha local government area of Benue State were buried at the military cemetery at Workum in Makurdi, the state capital. Governor Samuel Otam, who joined the Nigerian army to witness the burial of the slain soldiers in a funeral oration, expressed condolences with President Muhammadu Buhari, the Chief of Army Staff, and the entire leadership of the armed forces over the death of the soldiers, describing the incident as unfortunate. While condemning the unwarranted attack and killing of the gallant soldiers by militia men, the governor noted that an attack on security agents was an attack on the entire country, stressing that his administration will collaborate with relevant authorities to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. Governor Otam pledged his administration's support for the bereaved families to enable them overcome the difficult moment. Also, during the week under review, the Southeast region launched its own joint security outfit codenamed Ebubeagwu. Hours after the launch of the regional security outfit, Abia State Governor Okezie Ikpeazu explained that the governors took the decision in order to properly oversee and monitor the activities of vigilante groups in the region. Governor Ikpeazu, who stated this in Umuahia, the Abia State capital, assured that he and his colleagues from Anambra, Imo, Ebonyi, and Enugu would collaborate to ensure that operatives of Ebubeagwu are properly equipped. The Abia State Governor, however, gave no categorical statement on whether or not operatives of the new security outfit will bear arms or not. With the various security challenges across Nigeria still a far cry from being resolved, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Ali Baba, in the week met with commissioners of police and other senior police officers in Abuja to find solutions to address the challenges. The meeting, which took place at the International Peacekeeping Center behind the police force headquarters, was attended by Deputy Inspectors General of Police, DIGs, Assistant Inspector Generals of Police, IIGs, among other top senior police officers. The meeting x-rayed the nefarious activities of bandits, kidnappers, and other criminals disturbing the peace of the country and drew up new strategies to arrest the situation. And on the political scene, former President Olusegun Obasanjo said in the week just ended that bad blood was the reason for the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, which was widely believed to have been won by the late business mogul Chief Moshood Kashimawo Abiola. The former president, who described the late acclaimed winner of the election, Kashimawo Abiola, as his schoolmate at the Baptist Boys High School, Abeokuta, said the annulment robbed Egbaland the rare opportunity to have 3 of his prominent sons occupy the seats of the president at different times. Obasanjo spoke in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, during his investiture as a trustee of the Abeokuta Club, a socio-cultural organization of the Egba people of Ogun State. The late business mogul was also awarded a posthumous vice patron of the club during its 46th president party held at the Secretariat in Abeokuta. According to Obasanjo, Abiola richly deserved the award bestowed on him by the Abeokuta Club, and called the outgone week a week of stock-taking by former Nigerian leaders. If you like, and you will not be wrong. Former President Goodluck Jonathan had also in the week advocated the need for a legislation that will prevent the law courts from declaring a winner in an election. Speaking with journalists in Abuja, Jonathan insisted that a situation where the judiciary is allowed to declare winners in an election because of electoral fraud should be abhorred as it is undemocratic. He explained that the ballot paper should be the only means of choosing political leaders, adding that when a politician or the electoral system is found wanting, the courts should only be made to order for a rerun and not to declare a winner. While lamenting a situation where politicians use gifts to sway voters during the electoral process, the ex-president called for punitive measures against those who indulge in the unwholesome act. Former President Jonathan noted that in Nigeria, where politicians induce voters with money and foodstuff on election day, such action is a criminal offense in other African countries. And now to religious matters. The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar III, had declared Tuesday, 13th of April, as the first day of the month of Ramadan. The Sultan, who is the chairman, Nigeria's Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, declared that the crescent was sighted in almost every part of the country earlier on Monday, which was the 29th day of the month of Shaban, and thereby signified 13th of April as the first day of Ramadan. Sultan Abubakar, however, called on the entire Muslim community in the country to start fast in accordance with the teachings of Islam. He said the council was informed of the moon sighting from many Islamic leaders across the country. He therefore urged Muslims to use the month of Ramadan to pray against the spread of coronavirus in the country and work in line with the directive of government and all the relevant stakeholders. The Sultan also called on Muslims across the country to use the month of Ramadan to pray for the nation's leaders and for the peace and security of the country. And with the commencement of the month of Ramadan, during the week under review, Muslims in Nigeria were again called upon to use the Ramadan period to get closer to their Creator, Allah. Imam Fuad Adeyemi of Al-Habibiyya Mosque in Guzape, Abuja, who gave the advice at the beginning of this year's fast, said prayers are answered more quickly during Ramadan if properly observed.
The month of Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar and the month in which Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Fasting during the month of Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. The month is used by Muslims to abstain from food, drinks, and other mundane activities and commit themselves more to prayers from dawn to sunset. According to Islam, the Quran was sent down to the lowest heaven during this month, thus being prepared for gradual revelation by Jibril to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thereafter, the Prophet told his followers that the gates of heaven will be closed during the entire month and the gates of hell, Jahannam, will be closed.
You avoid eating, drinking, and sexual relationship during the day from the time when you can differentiate between the white and black thread, and that should be around 5:15, 5:20 a.m. for those of us who are in Abuja, and to the time where you can also do the same in the evening, and that should be around 6:40, 6:45 in the evening, and that is the time you keep away from all these things. Then also, it's not only it's not only you keeping away from eating and drinking. Every system in your body must be fasting. Your eye must be fasting. Your ear must be fasting. Your nose must be fasting. All with the intention to worship Almighty Allah.
Imam Fuad Adeyemi also called on Muslims to use the month of Ramadan to also show love to non-Muslims.
Ramadan is a special time for you to get closer to God. because the verse that Allah ended when He introduced Ramadan to us, He said, "Wa idha sa'alaka ibadi anni fa inni qarib ujibu da'wata da'i idha da'ani falyastajibu li wa liyu'minu bi la'allahum yarshudun." Allah said, when my servants ask about me from you, tell them I'm close to them more than their jugular veins, but I want to condition falyastajibu li. They should answer my call. Falyu'minu bi. They should believe in me la'allahum yarshudun, so that they will be guided. So the meaning here is Allah is ready to answer your prayers, especially during the month of Ramadan. There is nobody that asks Allah to give him something in Ramadan that he will not get it. I can tell you authoritatively. Create time. Train yourself to create time to get close to your God. When you are close to your God, two things you have done. You have come to Him, say, "Oh Allah, I am nobody. It is you who can do it." And you also train yourself to do the right thing before Almighty Allah. You have gotten double honor. It should be institutionalized. You begin to know, precisely decide by yourself, what do you want to achieve during this month of Ramadan?
The first day of the next month, Shawwal, is spent in celebration and is observed as the festive of breaking fast, better known as Eid al-Fitr. Ridwan Ogbara, reporting for Clearview Television.
This is Clearview Television. You're still watching the Week in Review. We will return after this break.
Clearview TV is online.
Hello and welcome to Clearview Television News.
We're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city,
Abuja.
But the daily 7 p.m. news is broadcast on DSTV channel 255, MITV, with particular reference to gainful employment for all. You can also link up as you like us on Facebook, Clearview Television, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Clearview TV. Nigeria needs employment generation by governments and all, for many reasons. Some are serious about this, but many others are not. 7 p.m. news on YouTube, Clearview TV every day says it all. Subscribe now.
You're welcome back. Another top story that dominated the headlines during the week just ended was the reintroduction of the pack and pay policy by authorities of the Federal Capital Territory Administration. The policy is to come into effect from May 1st, 2021. The Deputy Director in charge of information at the FCT Transportation Secretariat, Ifeanyi Ugwuamalu, in an exclusive interview with Clearview TV's Niyi Maraisa on Wednesday, said the FCT administration had taken care of the fallout of the FCT High Court ruling that had 7 years ago declared the pack and pay policy illegal.
It's exactly 7 years that the FCT High Court ruling that declared the pack and pay operation scheme illegal because it was not specifically mentioned in the 2005 FCT Road Transport Regulations. Prior to the court judgment, the scheme was riddled with so much complexity. The operators were variously accused of underhand activities ranging from deceitful, dubious, and unprofessional acts. Deputy Director for Information Transportation Secretariat Ifeanyi Ugwuamalu said the new pack and pay scheme is better and improved.
The FCT administration has come up with a law called the Federal Capital Territory Parking Regulation 2019. It is this law that gave us the locus on which we are about to roll out the pack and pay policy by next month, May 2021. In the first instance, this program or this policy is meant to manage traffic in FCT. And I don't think anybody will be against any policy introduced by the administration to manage traffic, to ensure seamless traffic flow in the territory. I don't think anybody is against it. Even the first time the thing came up, I don't think people were opposed to it. What they were opposed was the shortcomings of the operators.
He said the FCT administration has engaged legal experts and have come up with Federal Capital Territory Parking Regulations 2019 that amend the parking section of the 2005 FCT Road Transport Regulations.
Yeah, the new law we come up with provided for penalties for those that refuse to pay. For instance, if you book for 1 hour and you overstay, before now, when you overstay, they will clamp. The operators will clamp your vehicle and possibly tow away. But we have come up with a measure that are much more humane. Instead of clamping your vehicle at the expiration of the duration you paid, you will be asked to pay for the duration you overstayed. So the issue of clamping has been taken care of now. They will not clamp your car. But you know that there are people who ordinarily, even if you come with them with this software, they will still resist you. They will still put up an argument that they will not pay. When we have such scenario, the vehicle will be towed to a designated point. Now, the cost of towing this vehicle will be borne by the owner of the vehicle.
Ubamalo said the administration will strictly supervise the scheme and will be manned by private operators to ensure that the operators operate according to laid down rules and regulations that set up the scheme. Niji Mara Yesa reports for Clearview TV.
And following the conclusion of the arrangements by the Federal Capital Territory Administration to reintroduce the pack and pay policy from May 1, 2021, the question on the minds of many Nigerians, particularly the motorists and the FCT, is whether the policy will rake in monies into the government's coffers. Others are asking about the likely economic implications on the average Nigerians. Clearview TV's Mercy Eke, who went to town to seek the views of some motorists in Abuja City on the newly reintroduced policy, tells us more.
7 years ago, an FCT High Court had in a ruling declared the park and pay policy illegal because it was not specifically mentioned in the 2005 FCT Road Transportation Regulations. Clearview TV earlier this week spoke with the Deputy Director for Information, FCT Transportation Secretariat, Ifeanyi Ugwamalu, on why park and pay policy is being reintroduced 7 years after. Ugwamalu said the new policy is better packaged and improved.
This program or this policy is meant to manage traffic in FCT. And I don't think anybody will be against any policy introduced by the administration to manage traffic, to ensure seamless traffic flow in the territory. I don't think anybody is against it. Even the first time the thing came up, I don't think people were opposed to it. What they were opposed was the shortcomings of the operators. The operators were variously accused of many underhand activities then. And that was where the people were actually against, not the pack and pay program or policy.
But the worry is, will the revenue that will be generated from the park and pay policy be put into good use by the FCT? At least in improving infrastructure in the transport sector in the territory? Some motorists interviewed by Clearview Television's crew have varied views.
Well, left to me, I would have said it's a good policy because the country we even look up to, they basically live on taxes. But in our case here, they will collect the money. But I know now that they put the policy in place. Some people are starting one corner now, ready to siphon the money. I didn't mean they're going to use the money judiciously now. We can say it's a good policy. But for the fact that there are people that are going to invest with the money, that's the problem.
For what I see is that masses, we don't have anywhere to go. We come out from COVID-19 without having any palliative. The road has not been maintaining. No light, no water, no security. So what are we talking about park and pay? Why don't we do security and pay instead of park and pay? I think that is just something that I see they are just putting pressure to with the masses. It's very unfortunate. I don't know why. Maybe masses we have offended these people as we vote them into office. A traffic light is not working. You are telling about park and pay. I'm fully against it.
If I have to pay on a space that is allocated for a specific purpose, okay, fine and good. With that, it will control the menace of indiscriminate parking.
As the reintroduction of the back and pay policy takes off in the FCT on May 1st, 2021, the worry among many is, will it be successfully implemented? A.K. Mercy, reporting for Clearview Television.
And from neighboring Kogi came this report in the outgone week that the state government had officially opened the multi-million naira Lokoja mega terminal to commence full operations. Road transport operators, union members and other stakeholders in the transport industry were on ground to witness the takeoff. The State Commissioner for Transportation, Baron Okoli, who disclosed or declared it open, alongside the State Security Advisor, said henceforth transporters will not be allowed to remain on Natalco-Abuja Highway. Leadership of the transport unions commended the decision of the government to make the terminal work after 6 years of its commissioning by the past administration of Idris Ichala Wada. They urged the government to also create enough awareness alongside using the joint task force to achieve the needed support and patronage.
I think the commission today, I think 70% is on my side, because those going to the north. And just the way my boss say, we are law-abiding. We want government to help us how to guide the passengers, because we don't have the constitutional right to do that. We have less power to that one. The government has the authority and to tell the public where they're supposed to go, and we are also advising the public, even you, the journalists, should help us advise the public.
It is a very welcome idea to us, because we are patrolling every day because of the people that go to the road and board them, because of the criminals. But if you are here, you are not expecting to board a vehicle here, anything contrary to criminality to arise.
Through the magnanimity of His Excellency Alhaji Yahya Adoza Bello, we are formally declaring this operation beginning from today.
Any person, any vehicle going down south, going to the north, has to come here. And those who are going to Kogi East will have their own park at Ganaja axis.
The takeoff was launched with some vehicles on the parks ready to pick passengers to other neighboring states. Ticketing and reservation officers were also on ground to witness the takeoff exercise. It is expected that all road users along Lokoja-Abuja highways will comply with the strict directive of operations from the mega terminal. The transport terminal, observers say, will go a long way in addressing incessant cases of road accidents in the state. The week just ended marked the 7th year since 276 schoolgirls were abducted from the government girls' secondary school in Chibok, Borno State, by Boko Haram terrorists. Ever since, many human rights groups and campaigners, including the Bring Back Our Girls group, have continued to call for their return. Although most of the 276 girls escaped or were later released, more than 112 girls are still missing. The Bring Back Our Girls campaign group has since vowed not to relent in its campaign for the release of the schoolgirls. One of the co-conveners of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign group, Aisha Yusufu, in an anniversary statement, condemned doubters and those who have continued to keep quiet over the abduction of the Chibok schoolgirls. Yusufu said the silence and doubts of many Nigerians gave the abductors boldness to continue with their senseless attacks on innocent citizens. The human rights activist stressed that it is the duty of government to protect its citizens and that more efforts should be channeled towards securing the release of the abducted schoolgirls. And still on the abducted Chibok girls, the chairman Senate Committee on Army, Senator Ali Ndume, had in the week under review said the government is not trusting on its efforts to release the girls. Senator Ndume told Clearview TV's Nii Mara Isa in Abuja that though 7 years is a long time, the government will ensure that the girls return to their parents.
On April 14, 2014, Boko Haram government seized 276 girls aged between 12 and 17 from government girls secondary school in the remote town of Chibok, Borno State. Several more mass kidnappings of school children have occurred in northern Nigeria since the Chibok experience, resulting in hundreds of schools being shut in a region where the literacy rates and school enrollment are already very low. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, estimates that about 10.5 million children between the ages of 5 and 14 are out of school in Nigeria. Chairman Senate Committee on Harming, Ali Ndome, said the government has not given up on the girls.
We are hoping that the government will intensify action and to make sure that the Chibok girls are returned. And as even the parents say, whether they are dead or alive, people will want to know the status of their children. And we are grieved. The 112 girls are still out there. We don't know their status. And I think the government said they are doing something, and we believe they are doing something. And the state government is also doing, everybody is concerned about it. We continue to pray that these girls are still there and will be back to their parents.
Some Nigerians that spoke with Clearview Television, however, said they don't have confidence in the government in bringing home the girls. They hope on divine intervention.
I'm still expecting that maybe government will do the needful so that they should be free, that one day they shall come back. Though we still have the belief that most of them have been giving birth to maybe 1 or 2 kids now.
We now rely on the promise of government. 7 years after, the children are still somewhere unknown. 7 years after, and they are promising to bring them back. We're not going to rely on their promises. We only hope on God.
It's very, very unfortunate, and that even our military are giving up. Where we're celebrating their 7 years in captivity, you can hear news emanating from that part of the country are not palatable too. Over 120 civilians running away from Nigeria into neighboring Niger Republic. Then, what gives you the hope that those ones who are under captivity will soon rejoin their parents? So these are the issues.
Amnesty International has documented at least 5 more abductions of school children between December 2020 and March 2021. Niyi Marayesa reported for Clearview Television.
And with our report on the fate of some of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls still in captivity, we've come to the end of this week's edition of the Week in Review. We hope to be back same time next week with another interesting edition. Thanks for being there. I am Nkiru Obuli.